Welcome to everyone. It's Tyrone from TyroneShum.com, and I've got another podcast here with a really close friend of mine, Chris Ducker from the Philippines. And I wanted to actually get Chris on the call today because I've got a very interesting story to share with you. So firstly, welcome Chris onto the call today.
Mr. Shum, how are you?
Good, mate, good. It's always a pleasure to see you on the phone.
Yeah, it's always a pleasure to speak with you, mate. Thank you very much for inviting me.
Awesome. Well, the reason why I've got Chris on the call today is if you've been following Chris on his virtual business lifestyle for the last year or 12 months, he had a goal to set out to become the virtual CEO by the end of this year, or end of actually 2010. And basically at the beginning of 2011, Chris is going to be taking his time off to spend his time becoming the virtual CEO. Now, what I wanted to find out from Chris is what does this entail and what has he done now to be able to become into that position? So maybe Chris, let's just talk a little bit more about what's happened over the last 12 months and how that's led you to become the virtual CEO.
Sure. Well, you know what? Let's look at initially the goal of why it was put in place in the first place. A couple of years ago, I became a father for the third time. And
congratulations.
Thank you very much. I was amazed it still worked. There was quite a big gap between the second and the third one. So yeah, the bottom line is, with the other two, the first two, I love to bits, obviously, my son and daughter. They, I was in that kind of entrepreneurial growth stage where I was working my ass off and generally speaking, didn't spend a lot of time with them when they were very, very young. And I look back on, or should I say, I looked back on that time when my son kind of hit his first birthday again, and I was thinking to myself, do I want to go through that again, where I see my another one of my kids grow up, not necessarily from a distance, but not as frequently as I would want them.
Yep.
Or would want to see. So that was the goal. That the whole thing came about little Charlie. It was all about Charlie and making sure that I could kind of just be there more in his early years of development and things like that.
What a lucky little boy.
Yeah. Well, it depends on how you look at it, I suppose. Yeah, I guess he is very lucky. You're absolutely right. But yeah, so that was the whole goal. That was the whole thing behind everything. And then as time has gone by, so January 2010, I set the goal late in the month of January. I launched virtualbusinesslifestyle.com, and I launched it with a video post where I said, this is my goal for this year. This is what I'm going to be doing. If you guys want to follow me, awesome, great. If I can help some of you do the same thing, even more awesome, or greater, whatever you want to say. And so the journey began, and that was 2010. The journey was a 1 year long goal. I had absolutely no other goals in place at all in 2010. There was one goal and one goal only, and that goal was to become a full-time virtual CEO by the end of 2010. And through breaking that goal down to mini goals every month, so everything from taking myself out of email threads to putting processes and systems in place, to hiring the right people to replace bits of me in the different areas of the business that I was working on, I was able to accomplish it. Yay!
Congratulations. So what does the virtual CEO currently entail? What do you define as being a virtual CEO?
It is about living an entrepreneurial lifestyle that you love to live. That's what it's about. I think there's so many entrepreneurs, and I'm a serial entrepreneur. I've started probably 10, 11 companies in my career. Some of them have done better than others. I've had a couple fail appallingly, but I've learned obviously from those failures. But I'm an entrepreneur through and through. And I know that from past experience personally and talking with a lot of other entrepreneurs as well, whether it be online, offline, whatever, that a lot of them work really hard. A lot of them become very successful, but a lot of them are just leading lives that they just don't enjoy because of long hours or because they're missing out on things like their kids growing or whatever the case may be. So, the virtual CEO status for me just meant freedom. It meant freedom from being handcuffed to a desk. It meant freedom from, being superglued to a cubicle or whatever you want to call it. And for me, it was just about creating a lifestyle that enabled me to fundamentally get my work done anywhere, any place, anytime on my own terms. And that meant that I could not only get my work done and continue to grow my businesses, but also spend a lot more time with my family and a lot more time traveling and being able to see the world a little bit more. And I'm very well traveled already, but that was the other thing that I didn't do with my first two kids, was sort of taking them on long extended trips away and things like that, because I was always in the office, always working. And so, with Charlie now, and we actually have like 4 trips planned for next year, for this year rather, already. Why is it whenever you're in the beginning of January, you always keep assuming that you're still in the year before, right? Do you notice that? You did it at the beginning of the call.
Yeah, it's always like that.
we always how many times I've written 2010 on checks already? It's insane. But yeah, so I mean, and actually 5 trips now, because you just invited me to your wedding in Bali. Thank you very much, sir. I will be there. So 5 trips abroad this year.
Hush. Now the world knows. Oh, that's awesome, Chris. Well, what I'm actually also curious about is when you're being virtual as well, as you said, you're going to be able to travel 5 times a year, even more maybe, I reckon, because you're going to have a lot more time off. How much time do you think you might be spending in your business even, or will you be spending any time in the business at all?
No, I will be, absolutely. I mean, I can't leave the Live to Sell group. I guess the only time I would ever leave that company would be if I was to just sell it. And I had an offer last year, and it was a good offer, but I turned it down because I felt as if I hadn't achieved everything that I wanted to achieve as the owner of the company. And I will continue to work on the Live to Sell group as my focus business-wise, but just not doing it under the roof of the Live to Sell facility on a daily basis. I anticipate working still at least 6-7 hours a day, sometimes a little less, sometimes a little more. I have not worked religiously on a Friday for the last few months. I've taken a 3-day weekend, and I really have enjoyed that because it has meant, little trips away. And, we did Hong Kong Disneyland back in November. And, and that was like, it was a Wednesday evening. And my wife said to me, what should we do at the weekend? Should we hit the beach? And I said, well, I'm kind of getting bored with the beach, because we live only a 30-minute drive away from some of the most beautiful beaches in the world here in Cebu. And, I mean, we're talking, sand that is like salt. I mean, it's gorgeous. And so I said, I'm kind of getting bored. You know what we should do? Let's go to Hong Kong. And she was like, what? And we've been to Hong Kong a few times as a couple since, we were dating and got married and everything. And so, I basically said, let's go to Hong Kong. So the next day, it was Thursday, I had my PA call up some travel agents. She got some quotes. And on Friday morning, we got on the plane with Cathay Pacific, and we went because you can go from Cebu to Hong Kong direct. It's like 2.5 hours. It's nothing.
Yeah, see, you're lucky. You're so close to Hong Kong. For me, I got to sit in the plane for at least a good day, almost. Right. Well, actually, not a good day, about 8 hours or so.
I was going to say, don't exaggerate. Come on, it's an 8-hour flight.
See, that's the problem with living in Australia. You're sort of out of the rest of the world, and to get anywhere, it'd take me a good 8 hours. So basically, I'll lose a day. For you, it's like just basically a drive down the road for a 2-hour long trip.
That's right. So, and we went to Hong Kong. So all those little things are in place, and but no, I mean, to really answer your question, I do definitely foresee myself still working a regular kind of work day in terms of hours, so to speak. But
but not physically in the office.
Yeah, I just won't be. I mean, I have a home office which is fully equipped. I spend more money on my home internet connection than probably the same amount of all of my close circle of business friends here in the Philippines put together. I mean, I spend money on my home internet connection. So, because I do a lot of VoIP and things like that with clients overseas and everything. So it's got to be great quality. But yeah, I will be 100% self-sufficient at home. And, I'm in, the funny thing is, I've escaped the desk, but I'm sitting at it right now, which is so freaking ironic, right? But nonetheless, here I am at the Lift to Sell facility. But my plan, I only live 15 minutes away from the office, so my plan is to come in for 2 meetings each week of probably 2-3 hours at a time with management and HR, and just to make sure that things are kind of, rolling along nicely. I would have thought by the end of the first quarter of this year, that will probably go down to 1 time a week, and then maybe end up just, hopefully with a bit of luck, a couple of times a month, something like that. But I can't turn my back on this. We are a service-related industry. I do not sell a product. And I know how I want my company to run. And because of that reason, and that reason alone, I can't turn my back on it. I can never not be involved with it.
Well, you're still the face of Lift to Sell, so therefore it's still important.
and a very damn good-looking face, if I must say so myself.
I'll let the audience judge on that one. So
you do that.
It is important though. Leadership does still run, and I think we were talking about this. Tony from Zappos is still the forefront and the leader of the whole company, but he's not in the office that much at all. I mean, you said yourself when you visited, he wasn't there at all, but he's still
he was
the face.
In the process, I think, of a 3-month book tour across the entire United States. So yeah.
So you can imagine he's working virtually from anywhere he wants to, and you're going to be doing exactly the same, which is absolutely brilliant.
What Tony has done, and when I was in, I think it's good old Tony, my best friend Tony, but Mr. Shea, what Mr. Shea has achieved in a very short space of time, and I'm not talking about the wealth, I'm not talking about that at all, because companies come and go. Some companies make more money than others, and people's level of success and expectation is all different. All our parameters are all different. What I make could be a very small amount of money to what you want to make, or vice versa. So but what I really admired Tony Shea for was the culture. It was the company culture of Zappos that he and his team had put in place, and he was obviously at the forefront of that culture and making that culture happen. And we had actually been working, and this goes a little off topic here, but it might be interesting from an entrepreneurial or from a business standpoint for your listeners and viewers. We, as a company, we had been working on our core values from like the beginning of 2010. And we would work on them, and then we would forget about them, and something would happen. And then we'd work on them, and then we'd get a big client come on board, and we'd forget all about them again. So it was a kind of a bit of a on-off love affair for a year or so. But what changed that was when I did visit the Zappos HQ in Vegas, when I was there for Blog World in October, and I saw it in motion. I mean, literally in motion. It was phenomenal. Everybody from the receptionist down to the kitchen staff, and they gave you a complete tour of the facility. I mean, I'm sure there's probably a couple of areas that are off limits to the public for financial
reasons,
or whatever. But the fact of the matter is that they give you a pretty good quality tour around all the facility, and I was just the Zapponians, as they call them, they great word, I love it. They live and breathe that Zappos culture. And that was the catalyst. That meeting, that 2 hours I had there, and I then took part in a Q&A session, which was kind of like the VIP tour with some of their upper management and their culture coaches and things like that. That was the catalyst for me. When I came back from Vegas, it was full steam ahead with my management team to finalize our core values, to put our company culture in place, and we actually launched the 10 Lift to Sell family core values at our annual dinner and dance, which is a very English term. It's a Christmas party, but it's an annual dinner and dance.
I was thinking, well, what the heck? You've got some interesting terms when it's actually a Christmas party.
It's just an opportunity to have one big piss up, basically, is all it is. But the bottom line is I launched that at the Christmas party for the entire Lift to Sell staff of about 240 odd people. And actually, by the end of this month, by the end of January, we will actually launch lifttosellfamily.com, which will be our company culture website, which is going to be available for the whole world to see, and including our competitors. No problem. Check it out. I don't care. And we will have everything from blog posts to videos to interviews to everything and anything you can imagine. And all of that was inspired by Tony Shea and Zappos, because the way that he has created and built his company up is based on nothing but culture.
Yep. And that's all it is.
And the value that they bring their customers based on that culture. And that just amazed me. So that was one of the main reasons why we kind of really said, this is it. We're putting it in place. It's going to happen now. And that's exactly what we did. That was the last quarter of 2010 was like, it was all about the live to sell culture.
That is actually very interesting. And it's actually very inspiring to see that as well, because with any company that succeeds, you'd want to be able to pretty much portray as much of a great culture in them, because if they're all motivated, they'll perform really well. Therefore, your company grows as well. And also, too, you yourself can just continue to drive that through, and it just expands and expands without much more effort than that. So
right. And I think it's not just about the company growth. It's about the individual
growth
of everybody involved in the company as well. And I think as far as I know, there's no other outsourcing company in the Philippines doing what we're about to do.
I haven't even heard it as well, too. So you'll probably be the first there. Well, that's awesome.
Do say if you want to be a success, you've got to innovate and not follow. So hopefully we'll see what the innovation does this year.
We'll soon see. All right. Well, we've talked a lot about the company and also Virtual CEO. What I'm actually curious to jump into now is, what are your plans for the next 12 months? And also, too, how do you plan to live those 12 months?
I'd like to say, after all the hard work of last year, I'd like to say that I would be doing very little and just spending all the time with the family and things like that. But that would be a complete out-and-out lie. I think I'm going to be even busier this year than I was last year. It will be in different settings. It will be in different situations. Like I said, I do plan to travel. I plan to spend at least 3, maybe 4 months outside of the Philippines this year. I intend to launch 1, 2, 3 more business models under the Live to Sell banner. One of them actually might be quite beneficial for some of your followers as well, and I'll tell you about that more when I can. But being that they're sort of online marketers and things like that, or aspiring or online marketers. It's for me, it's about, the last few years have been a funny few years. It's been a combination of survival, a combination of sustainment, growth, and I think actually survival, growth, sustaining, I think is the right way in terms of the last few years. And I think 2011 is going to be about growth and about diversification for me as an entrepreneur. I want to continue to grow my existing companies, but I also want to launch at least another couple and probably another 2 or 3 product or service models based around those companies as well. I also am about 30 or 40% through my first book as well. And I want to get to the point of having that published sometime this year as well. So if you're a publisher,
give him a call.
I could, but I'm not going to tell you exactly what the book is all about, because I don't want somebody else to come out with a similar idea, obviously. But I can say that it does cover that virtual CEO journey of last year, and the sort of things that I'm going to be doing this year, and how to get those things into your life and things like that as well. So, that sort of stuff.
You look like you have a full plate already for next year.
I'm going to be tired. I know I will.
Amongst that, though, because you're definitely not going to be tired, because you're going to be taking those 5 trips during the year as well, too. So don't worry. You have a good balanced life.
That's it.
Well, in terms of, I'm actually curious as well, to be able to live a virtual life, like say it's not a virtual CEO, but to live a life virtually without having to run a business in the office or work in an office situation, you still need to sustain some kind of income to be able to help you live your lifestyle. I mean, is there specific things that you plan to do, as you said, maybe traveling, starting up a few of those businesses? How much would your lifestyle costs or your expenses become when you actually live this kind of lifestyle? Because, you still have to consider those things to be able to live day to day in order to survive, or even just to live the lifestyle.
Sure, absolutely. I mean, I guess to answer that question, firstly, I should point out that I live a very modest lifestyle here in the Philippines. I mean, there's a lot of foreigners, as we're known as here. There's a lot of foreigners or expatriates living in the Philippines that have very, very, very lavish lifestyles.
Mm. Well,
Because
it's possible
the
to
dollar
do.
does go, yeah, the dollar does go a long way here, even with the peso being so disastrous against the dollar today compared to what it was, 10 years ago when I first came into the country. Um, it. I mean, I know some guys that buy ridiculously huge houses with swimming pools and double car basement parking and all this. It's just freaking stupid. What do you need that? I mean, honestly, if you want to swim, go to the beach. You don't need a pool. What are you doing? You don't need a pool.
Exactly.
So I mean, these sort of things. I mean, and it costs money to maintain a pool as well. It's not cheap anywhere in the world.
Yeah.
So I live a very modest lifestyle. I don't. I have a nice sized house. It's not a mansion by any stretch of the imagination. And I live a comfortable lifestyle. I don't starve myself. If I want to go out and have a good meal with my wife or friends, and I'll do it. If I want to pop over to Hong Kong for a long weekend,
Which
I can afford to do that. I mean, it's a good question because you're right. With the additional travel, and I mean, I travel quite regularly anyway on business, but obviously that's business expense. And a lot of what I want to do next year, although a certain amount of the travel will be put down to business, a certain amount of it will not. And for me personally, I guess it's going to be one of those things where I'm going to have to just sort of play it by ear a little bit. But I mean, I have a rough idea for instance, I want to spend a month in London next year.
And London, compared to the pesos, is actually quite a big change in the cost of living as well.
It is, and I mean, we, the run up to the Olympics next year, and all that sort of stuff. Everything's, they say that London, I think, is the second most expensive place in the world to have a cup of coffee now.
Yeah, I'm not surprised.
So I mean, I looked at some long-term sort of or short-term rental apartment places, and I was amazed. It was like the equivalent of about $1,200 a week.
Not surprised. We pay those kind of things here.
Yeah. So to give you a rough idea, not going to pay that. Not going to pay that at all. Staying with my brother now, much better.
Thanks to you, bro.
Yeah. So and just to give you an idea, he doesn't have an email address. I'm not lying. He has no email address. So I had to pay a year worth of internet connection so that when I am there for the month, I can have uninterrupted internet. But I'd rather do that and cost, $300 or $400 or whatever it was for the year to have an internet connection for the month and then spend silly amounts of money renting an apartment.
Exactly. Yeah, that makes absolute sense.
Yeah, I live a very modest lifestyle, but I mean, the other part of the virtual CEO lifestyle is, or part of the virtual business lifestyle, which is the phrase that I coined, was that you have to try and develop different streams of income. And one of the things I'm going to be doing this year is working on the passive income streams a lot more than I ever have done before. And I just literally this month I've launched my first ever real true passive income, which is an e-course for sales professionals. And the launch actually went very well. I was quite surprised. The numbers were better than I thought they were going to be. They weren't huge. It's a relatively small niche. But, this is a niche that ain't going anywhere. And as long as I continue to market the site properly, it'll bring me in, a good amount of money every month with very, very little effort.
Exactly.
So, I want to try and develop another 2 or 3 streams of income like that. And really try and pursue the online business world a lot more than I have done up until this point. And I like the fact that I've got the balance of the real world marketing, almost 20 years in the industry, and I'm now going to be attacking the online marketing. And I'm really quite excited this year in terms to see what I can put together online. I flirted with it a little bit in 2010, and it worked out quite well. So I'm looking to see whether I can build on it.
That's awesome. Well, the reason why I asked you that question was because for entrepreneurs out there who want to do what you're doing, becoming a virtual CEO, just to say travel over to the Philippines and live in the Philippines for a few months and then travel throughout Asia and stuff like that, maybe just from an average point of view, how much would it cost them to live in the Philippines or something like that? So that way they can sort of get an idea and then plan for ahead as well.
Well, you'll see some blogs and websites out there from people who retire here, and they say you can live for $1,000 a month. No, you can't. Not if you want to eat decent food on a regular basis and have air conditioning.
You need aircon. It's hot there.
You certainly need aircon over here. So, rough ideas. One bedroom apartment will cost you, fully furnished, will cost you around in a nice area, about $600 a month.
That's still pretty good.
Yeah,
I mean, considering the fact that we spend at least $3,000 a month on average to be able to get a decent accommodation here in Australia, that's right. Sydney. So,
right. Then obviously, you then have your expenses on top of that. So, anything like a decent internet connection is going to cost you anything between $50 to $100 a month. And I mean a connection that's, fast and that's not going to die every 2 days,
Well, $50 to $100 a month is actually the same as what we pay here, so it's no different.
Right. but if you look at the averages, like the cost, the apartment is a lot cheaper. Therefore, you think the utilities would be cheaper. It's not for good quality utilities. It's not the case. So that's the internet side of things. Electricity, one bedroom apartment. Let's say you sleep with the aircon all night and you work with the aircon all day. You're probably looking at maybe another $150 a month on electricity, US. And then you've got your grocery and you're going out and your entertainment and things like that. So I think all in all, you could probably live a relatively comfortable life for anything between $2,000 to $3,000 a month. And that includes, eating at a really nice restaurant once a week and, hitting the movies. To give you some rough ideas so that people can kind of differentiate in terms of costs. How much does a can of Coca-Cola cost?
$1.20.
So that's about what? It's about a US dollar, something like that. The exchange rate.
Yeah, $1.20 is US.
Okay, so $1.20 US. Okay, so $1.20 US. Can of Coke here will cost about 80 cents US.
Yeah, it's about 2/3.
Cost of going to the movies, and I know this because I went to Mann's Chinese Theater in LA when I was there a few months back. That will cost me about $10 per movie.
Yeah, it's about $15 here in Australia.
Right. Okay. So $10 a ticket, popcorn, drink, $20. Here, about $5 or $6.
Yeah. That's the biggest difference. So entertainment, groceries, food, dining out would definitely be a fraction of the cost because your living expenses or standard living is much lower in terms of comparison. Therefore, your dollar stretches a long way. And easily, I mean, if you were to just get, say, kind of work, like say you still retain a remote working situation with, say, your employer, say you're employed, and you're earning about 40, 50K a year, that's more than enough to cover your living expenses in Philippines plus, your any traveling and so forth.
Oh, yeah.
So anyone could actually live in the Philippines quite comfortably if they had a stream of income about 36 to about 40K a year.
For sure. And I mean, perfect example. I have a client here that's got about 15 staff with us, and he came over from North Carolina. And he's visited, we've been working together a couple of years. He's visited a few times within that period of time. The last time he was here, he extended his trip. And I was saying to him, is this guy ever going to leave? I mean, what's going on here? So then he does eventually leave, and he calls me up and he says, Chris, I want to move to the Philippines. The first thing I think, from a business standpoint, is, shit, I'm going to lose the business. He's going to open up his own office and blah, 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 blah. Right?
Yep.
As it happens, he's totally not interested in doing that in any way whatsoever. and he wants us to continue to manage his people and do things exactly the same as we've done before. He literally just doesn't want to live in North Carolina any longer. He wants to live, as he calls it, and I will quote him here, paradise on earth. So he's like saying, what can you do? Can you help me? So anyway, I have a friend of mine, very good friend of mine, who is a real estate, mogul. He's got lots of properties and all the rest of it, and he's actually rented a 3-bedroom house with a swimming pool, semi-furnished. This is going to hurt you because I know what you're paying. Semi-furnished for about $1,500 US a month.
I'm not saying anymore.
Right.
There you go.
So, yeah, it just goes to show you, you can live here very, 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 very cheaply, but still have some of the, the frills that you might want from, back home. But there are also there's pros and cons to everything.
Yeah.
And there's certain things like that drive me nuts here. Like, perfect example, and it's kind of a funny story, but it's a very true one. I used to get regularly pulled over in my car
by cops.
By cops, by traffic cops.
Oh, okay.
And all they're looking for is this.
Oh, yeah. That happens in Malaysia too. We had that same situation when we were traveling.
Yeah, I think any developing country or any country where that sort of thing is doable, it'll probably happen. So I'm not joking. Once a month, I would pull over, and I just put it down as a form of tax. After a bit, I was like, yeah, whatever. He wants $10, that sort of thing. But eventually, something snapped to me one day, and this guy pulled me over, and he said I ran a red light. I've never run a red light in my life. I'm about the safest driver. I'm the guy you beep at and say things like,
"Hurry up,
it's called a gas pedal. Use it for Christ's sake." You know what I mean? So when he pulled me over, you ran it. No, I didn't. Did not run a red light. You're talking out of your hole. You've got no idea what you're talking about. Blah 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 blah. And he said, "I'll arrest you. You can be arrested in the Philippines for arrogance." Apparently, I didn't know of this fact. Right. So I was being arrogant, and eventually I bit my lip and said, "Okay, is there a fine I can pay? The usual thing, right?" So we ended up getting 500 pesos from me. The next day, and my office is above a Hyundai dealership, and I drive a Hyundai, and great cars. And the next day, I pull into the dealership, I walk into the office, and I say, "I want you to put an 80% tint on every single window that I've got. I never want to be pulled over again." And you know what, Tyrone? To this day, that was about a year ago. To this day, I have not been pulled over once.
And I think I know why. Because as soon as they see who you are, that's
well, I think it happens to basically every handsome person. No, but you're right. They see the foreigner behind the wheel, and they obviously figure, well, he's got more money than Filipinos, which is complete poppycock, because I know plenty of Filipinos that are rolling in it compared to me. So it just goes to show you, it is what it is. So there are pros and cons to any country in the world. So it is what it is. But I love the Philippines. I've been here 10 years, and I've made it my home. It's given me my business, my family, my life. I love it. It's great.
And it's also led you to become the virtual CEO too. So
it awesome. Has, absolutely.
All right. One last question I just want to ask you as well to share with the audience is, I know that next year is going to... Sorry, I keep referring to next year. It's 2011.
Are you on some sort of drugs or something? What is going on? Mind you, I've done it once as well. So what are you going to do, huh?
I don't know.
And just so everybody knows, and we are marketers, yes, you can believe us or not, just so we are genuinely filming this in the first week of January, okay? So we're not lying. It is genuine. We're just idiots. That's all it is.
Exactly. We're still referring to last year because 2010 was such a great year for us.
Right. It was. Yes, that's the reason why. Yeah.
What I wanted to know, though, is to share with everyone is, you mentioned you're going to be doing some traveling. What are some of the places that you're going to be going to, and why? Why are those places?
Well, London is first up, obviously, because I'm from London originally. I've been with my beautiful, beautiful wife for almost 6 years now. and we have never gone to London together. We've traveled to we've been in the US twice together. We've been in Hong Kong like 5 times together, and Thailand and a load of other places, but we've never been to London together. So I want to take you to London, take my little one over there as well. And we're in the process of getting his British passport now. That ain't easy from the Philippines, I can assure you.
Oh, I was going to say, how is that going to be possible to get a British passport for him since he was born in... Was he born
he's born in the Philippines, but he's got a British dad. And, we had to... Oh man, we had blood extracted, DNA tests, the whole lot. I mean, it's going through the process right now, but he will eventually get it. It's going to probably end up costing me a few grand, but he will eventually get it. And I feel like I have to get it for him because the Filipino passport is very limited travel-wise. You've got to get visas pretty much
everywhere you go. Yeah,
Asia, so it's tough. So London is definitely there, and I'm thinking probably April, May. I like London in the springtime. It's very, 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 very beautiful. I want to do San Francisco for a month or so. I'm a big fan of San Fran. I love it. It's my favorite city in the US. It's just something about San Francisco to me. It's got nothing to do with the whole tech Silicon Valley thing. It's just the culture of, the fact that you can sit there on Fisherman's Wharf, in the evening, and then you go downtown and you've got a blues club, and, it's just a very, very cool city. So we want to do San Fran for a month as well. And we're also thinking about Tuscany.
Oh, that's interesting. I don't even know where that is. I've heard of it. Where is that located?
Italy.
Ah, that's why.
Yeah. So my wife is, I want to go to Tuscany. Why? Because I've seen it in the movies. Okay. And make no mistake, I might be a virtual CEO, but I know who the real boss is. And so if the wife wants to go to Tuscany, here we come. So we're thinking about Tuscany for the autumn time.
That's beautiful.
So she can see trees with brown leaves on them instead of just green ones, like they are here in the Philippines all the time. When we were in New York in February last year, she saw and experienced snow for the first time. And
of course.
It's not, and I wish I shot video of this, but I didn't, but it's not every day you see a beautiful Filipina in the middle of Manhattan, and I'm not lying, on the side of the sidewalk, on the floor, making snow angels with her husband. I would have filmed it if I wasn't enjoying it too. All these New Yorkers are walking past us going, "What are you, stupid? What are you doing? Get up, it's cold, it's snow," and all this sort of stuff. And then we were making snow angels. Leave us alone, sort of thing.
Well, that's what happens when I was first in Germany, just for my first ever snow type of experience. I didn't do anything except stay outside and make snow men. Yeah. That's what you do when you've never ever seen snow before.
Doesn't matter. Yeah. Snowmen, snow cars, snow houses. It doesn't matter. You're making stuff out of snow. It doesn't happen regularly, right?
Doesn't happen at all, actually.
So we want to sort of try and experience every season in a different place. That's the plan. That's the plan.
Nice. Well, definitely when you do get to those places, we're going to have to do an interview and just check out what you're up to and share all that on.
Get a decent backdrop, right? It'll be, it'll be the vineyards of Tuscany, and it'll be, the downtown of San Fran, and maybe we'll shoot one video from, Centre Court in Wimbledon or something like that.
I'll definitely be looking forward to getting those from you, so I'll be calling you there. Well, Chris, thank you so much for coming on today. It was an absolute pleasure to be able to find out your story. I know that there's been a lot of people that have been following you for the Virtual CEO, and it's really exciting now because you're actually living it right now. And
it's the start of the journey. You know what? I might hate it 6 months from now, but I very much doubt it.
No, I very much doubt it because you still got all that entrepreneurial spirit in you. So, well. For people who don't know you and have just come on to also watching this video for you, how can they get in contact with you to find out more about you?
Easiest way, just to go find me over at my blog, virtualbusinesslifestyle.com.
Awesome. All right, Chris. Well, thank you again. And I guess I'll let you go so you can catch up with your family and enjoy the rest of your afternoon off as well too. So,
well, no, I got to go and do a meeting with my marketing team now. So I'll do that, and then I will go home and beat the kid up for a couple of hours.
Sounds good to me. Well, thanks again.
No problem, mate. I'll talk to you soon. Take good care.
You too. Bye for now.